Hello everybody and welcome back to Let's Play Witch on the Holy Night. Previously, we defeated the automaton and once again, Aoko was saved by the one and only Shizuki with the use of fire extinguisher. Always carry one in your building for safety. You never know and you have to whack a robot. But all things did not end well, as we thought our protagonists were safe, when the mighty Alice came in and said, Did this bitch really not carry out her orders? Well, I guess I have to do it myself. She's here to kick our ass and get the job finished. And considering that Aoko's like a 10 times better mage than us, we're screwed. So we need to find out how to either get away from her or convince her not to kill Sojiro. Which is going to be bad because she's an actual cold-hearted, full-on magus, whereas Aoko more so isn't. She plays the part very well, but she's not fully there, as I believe Alice really is. So I don't know, let's go ahead and start. Chapter 5, Part 2, Night of the Witches. Next episode. Yeah, I did not do that. I'm just excited, man. This song always plays, man. It's like the Alice theme. Oh, the melody stirred an emotion like nostalgia within them. Something once familiar, but now lost to this world. They believed beyond a shadow of a doubt that it would play for all eternity. From opening stanza to final coda, it was a mysterious siren song, merry yet longing, that heralded a return from dreams to reality. Ooh, what the hell is that? The night shook, the song was spun, now their lost paradise was unearthed. Abandoned dreams, forsaken idols, they all responded to the cry of the blue cat. But the name of that bell was Diddle Diddle, Banquet of the Night. Diddle Diddle Diddle, I made this out of clay! All fables made possible, all marvels made real, by the magecraft of Alice Koenji, more magical than magic itself. Damn, dude, if I could be looked down on Damn, she got that dog in her! Alice sat perched atop the clock tower like a black bird of ill omen. She smoothed the ruffles of her skirt as if she were preening. I don't even know what that word means, so I used contact clues. She smoothed the ruffles of her skirt as she were preening. Trying to look more intimidating? Callous? Alice. There was tension in Aoko's voice as she lifted her head. The calm atmosphere from the moment prior had long since been shooed away by Alice's gaze. Yeah, I was dressed as a panda. Was it a panda? I don't remember the other mascot. Sojiro searched his hazy memory. He could not clearly make out her face at this distance, but he was sure he had seen her around town a number of times. Word wouldn't eluded him, however, as the tension in the air kept him connecting all the dots. She's like, it's been like 3 hours, dude. I kinda got like fucking sick of waiting. I want my candy. And chocolates. Aoko readied her guard and took half a step forward. Unconsciously, from an objective standpoint, it almost looked as though she were protecting the figure beside her. Yeah, boy! Ooh. Alice's silence grew even heavier. Her eyes fixed on the ground below her were devoid of emotion. An indescribable sense of dread and pressure laid claim over the plaza. If he strained his ears, he could make out the faint ringing of a bell echoing in the distance. Rippling sound waves seemed unbelievably to be emanating from under the ground. Yes, ma'am. Sojiro stepped back, trying to stay out of the way. It was as though he had been told to go to hell. The crime of asking if the girl was Aoko's friend.
に当てはまるかは微妙だけど。ない
Damn!
予感がしたから様子を見に来ただけ。
Ouch!
別にあなたの仕事を疑ったわけじゃないわ。
I mean, that part I do believe.
それはどうも。どうせならもう少し早くその良くない予感とやらに気づいてほしかっ
Like,
た。
yeah, you think you could have checked earlier? Do you have any idea what I've been through?
でもま、ご覧の通り自己解決したわ。夜も遅いし、さっさと帰っていいわよ、アリス。
Oh, this is dope. Their eyes locked onto one another. Alice's stare was uncomfortably cold. Aoko's was bold, daring Alice to air her complaints.
いえ、気が変わったわ。せっかくだし二人で帰りましょう。その方があなたらしいわ。帰りしな、人形の話でも聞かせてちょうだい。
But is it as simple as just going home with, you know, letting Shizuki go?
らしいって何よ、らしいって。いいから帰れ帰れ、ぐうたらアリス。部屋に閉じこもって役に立たないムクドリでも作ってろっての。
Wow, this is some... And if I were Shizuki, I'd be like, just whistling in the background, like... I have no idea what's going on. A disappointed sigh escaped Alice's delicate lips. It seemed that the black-clad girl was more astonished than angry.
青子、口にしたくないけど、本気？
That's awesome. She's just like, bruh. That's the biggest, like, bruh moment she's ever had with Aoko. She's like, seriously? Did you just fucking say that to me? Quietly, Alice questioned her roommate of nearly 2 years.
呆れた。二人で秘密を守ると言ったのに。まだ半端にそっち側なの？それとも情でも移った？
Kinda.
別に情っていうより私の気分。
I just feel like it. It was nothing more than a whim.
だいたい方針なんてその場その場で変わるもんでしょ。気分ならなおさらよ。そっちこそ一度した約束は絶対守るなんて時代遅れなんじゃない？
Damn, she just called her a boomer. The proverbial knives were out now. No quarter was given or taken. Sadly, their partnership was one of convenience and had not reached a level of mutual understanding. The version of friendship was both delicate and unique. When a conflict of opinion arose, each would refuse to budge until the other crumbled. Either was concerned for the other's plight, and at least for now, that was how they liked it. You know?
そうね。今の暴言はあなたらしいとは思うけど。
Once again, she let out a sigh, even larger than the one before.
言い争いは後にしましょう。そこの彼をいなかったことにするのは、
There we go.
私だけで十分だし。
Finally, she struck straight to the point. As if making to move a chess piece, Alice lifted her slender finger. A fork? Huh? Oh my god. I'm being taken to Hell's Kitchen. Even this simple action seemed mysterious to Sojiro, the same boy who had been hunted by his classmate, Aoko Azuki, and borne witness to an automaton. Aoko's violence and an animated doll. Though perhaps far beyond the realm of logic, both these things were derived from reality. As surprised as he had been, there was no need to think of them as total mysteries. However, when the thing appeared out of thin air from a seemingly unrelated gesture, he had no words for it besides mysterious. Sojiro stood motionless, captivated by the stage performer's magic trick as the girl's single-finger magecraft turned into an attack directed at him. Magic bullet! A blue light flew from the side to repel it, annihilating it without a trace.
Yaba.
Oh, is that her last bullet? Or Aoko immediately regretted her reflexive shot.
どういうこと？約束を曲げただけじゃなく、
Oh.
ルールまで破るつもり？
Oh no, did she do that like reflexively, like just on instinct? Ooh, this is bad. The rules, breaking the rules. The already chilled midwinter air plunged below freezing. Alice looked calm and collected on the outside, but in reality, she was sometimes even more hot-blooded than Aoko. This was especially true when it concerned her familiars. Accidentally breaking one would often result in a week of silent treatment. But against someone who maliciously destroyed her things, Alice was prone to retaliating without warning.
あっちゃー、いつかやるとは思ったけど、ついに逆鱗に触れちゃったか。
Aoko sided herself. Even she was exasperated by her own stupidity. But she couldn't help but feel a pang of relief. She did not intend to make any excuses, and she had no regrets. She had broken the rules, then so had Alice.
Aoko.
Oh, the music just got serious.
なんていうか。
If anything, this took a load off her mind. After all, now there was no going back. Aoko never intended to break her own rules. If there was anything for Aoko to regret, it was putting too little power into her shot.
私的に今夜こいつに死なれるのは困るの。
Yeah, let's go. That's a way of putting it.
なんで日を改めて殺しに来てくれないアリス。いいでしょ。たった1日ぐらい。
To Aoko, it was simply natural to take on a pro bono case in defense of an innocent suspect.
それは市場？
悪い？一宿一般の恩義って割と大事にしてるの。私
との協定より。
Ooh.
ええ、時と場合によっては。
I really loved the shot reverse shot style that they did there. Sojour's human rights had not yet entered the argument. The girls were busy pouring oil on each other's flames. The girl clad in black was the first to move, or rather to erupt.
そう。よくわかったわ、アオコ。私は彼をここで殺す。あなたは彼をここだけ生かす。つまり、私と戦う。ということでいい？
Wow, when the automaton was the mini boss, that's crazy shit.
そんなのいいわけないじゃない。
Aoko bit back the retort. She was very familiar with Alice's magecraft, and knew painfully well how many mystics were hidden in Alice's tiny body. The odds of victory were essentially non-existent, and once the first shot had been fired, Alex Konji was without mercy. Whether facing a roommate or a friend, the most beloved family member or a stranger, once Alice began to fight as a witch, she became a heartless, unflappable monster. Aoko advanced another half-step forward as if to encourage herself. It was too late to back down now. The situation was no longer a trivial quarrel over a witness. The bedrock of their so-called friendship had nothing to do with their individual abilities and everything to do with being equals in will. That is why, in order to stay true to herself, Aoko had no room to compromise or deception.
もちろん、あんたを殺すことになって、そこのバカは生かしきるわ。それに。
Hot diggity damn, that's one way to say it. Yeah, wow! Her magic circuits held as they kicked into gear. That's dope. Her body, which had mostly been dormant during the battle with the puppet, ignited, appearing to demonstrate its true worth.
それに、どの道最後には殺し合う仲でしょ、私たち。
Her courage overpowered any fear she had for her opponent. Really now? They were gonna kill each other in the end anyway? I mean, it was just a mutual kind of bet. Tuning her body, her magic circuits to become like the barrel of a gun, Aoko fired a magic bullet. It was an exceedingly basic magecraft formula. There was no nature interference, no creating of wind, parting of water, nor hastening of decay. It was simply the process of converting the imaginary activity known as magical energy into something real before releasing it as heat. Thus, Aoko's destructive power was equal to her supply of magical energy. The magic bullets she had used against Sojo were among the most basic single-action magecraft that did not require an incantation. At her present ability, Aoko's main mode of attack, her magic bullet, could be fired at 3 levels of power. These were at the 2nd level. This required a double-action magecraft, a casting through activation of her crest combined with a simplified incantation. Level 2! So it's like Fyra, or Blizzara, or Thundara. However, without blinking, Alice dispersed the shot that Aoko had mustered all of her spirit to fire. You need the Aga spells! Quick! To the sphere grid! Aoko tottered in frustration. A swift sneak attack that used a simplified incantation would not be enough to break Alice's guard.
相変わらずお堅いこと。そ そのから一段と独りよがりになってるんじゃない？
Aoko provoked Alice in order to disguise her own lack of composure. Somehow Alice seemed delighted by Aoko's bravado.
売り言葉に買い言葉
Them's fighting words I hear!
こういう勢いだけのきっかけは初めてだけど
Damn. To Omegas, this is like, that's... Alice is like, that's fucking hot. Holy shit.
驚いたわこんなくだらない理由でもその気になるものなのね人間って
Maybe I know you're a witch, but you're just gonna call humans out like that? Alice giggled, smiling with heartfelt amazement, and Alice gestured her left hand toward the earth. Time to do a jutsu! Fork! No jutsu! Stab, 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 stab. Countless utensils shot out from underneath the cobblestones paving the plaza.
しずきくん後ろに飛んで。
She grabbed his hand as she shouted, jumping backwards before he even had a chance to respond. As if they had wills of their own, the utensils that had suddenly appeared from the ground gave chase. As the barrier of spears grew around them, Aoko and Sojiro put some distance between themselves and the clock tower.
これで終わ
Man, imagine getting killed by silverware. Damn, that would suck. Just under 30 feet stood between them and Alice. The lethal weapons that had crumbled to the stone beneath them fell sort of what Aoko had anticipated. They now encircled the clock tower, making the scene look like the burning of a witch at the stake.
普通
Unfitting.
逆じゃない。ここは私たちを逃がさないよう槍で周りを囲むものでしょ。
The path behind them was safe. If they wanted, they could try to make a break for the main gate and escape.
いいのアリス。悪いけど逃げられるなら逃げるわよ。私。
I love all the background faces for Sojiro that you just see, like him not even saying anything. It's brilliant. She could just make it back to town and be Aoko's win. Yeah, because the Mage Association, you can't do this in public because then the Mage Association will find out. They can't really just cover it up with a gas leak either. All she wanted to do was let Sojiro get away for the night, so if she could get him back to the city, it would be, for the most part, mission accomplished. Oh no.
Huh?
What is that? Or so she had thought. Without even offering a glance at her targets below, Alice carefully and lovingly pulled out a bottle from her pocket.
緑のフラスコ？
No, she's got an Estus flask!
あれって確か。やば！とにかくファイヤー！
Oh, she's trying to break it. Man, that's a great defensive barrier. Frickin'... Her shot was deflected with ease. Gone was Aoko's earlier bravado. It was only natural. Aoko had indeed grown as a mage. Over the last 2 years of study, her studies had progressed well, and she'd more or less gotten a grasp of her roommate's tendencies and abilities. Oh, that's fucking nuts. Oh my god. She looks like the puppet. This had made her conceited enough to believe that under favorable circumstances, she'd be able to show Alice a thing or two in a fight. No, you can't do it. Ooh. What is that? Alice uncorked the magical bottle. A gentle breeze caressed her cheek. Diddle Diddle fled as a new player stepped onto the stage. But from where would it enter? Shrek. Sound of footsteps, a nostalgic parade approached. What? She's turning the Ferris wheel into a monster? Go, go, gadget, Ferris wheel! What the hell? The whole amusement park came alive! Okay, this is bananas. This shit is bananas. What the fuck? Damn, my balls are falling off, man. I'm actually like, this is cool. What emerged was a miracle that Aoko Onsaki, an apprentice mage, had never witnessed. She just, like, had generated enough electricity to bring everything to life. The dead came to life. Didn't somebody die here? I mean, Didn't people die here in the lore of this place? The inanimate wakened. The woods were enveloped by the mists. Fire-breathing lizards lurked in the swamps. Puppets made merry at midnight. Alice Kuonji's slender fingers had transfigured the entirety of the park, and as if gently stroking the back of an elderly cat.
いいわ。ごっこ遊びをしましょう。
Yeah, try to escape this. Let's try to leave. When the whole park is against you. For one night, the wasteland of dashed hopes and dreams was restored to its former glory. This is such a cool set piece. I'm loving this. It was an immortal monster, ready to devour reality. A dark fairy tale that once unleashed would never let its prey escape.
逃げられるものなら逃げてみせて。どこまで行けるかわからないけど、この夜を越えることができたのなら。
Oh wow, so if we can survive, then we can live, she says. Her declaration marked the start of a desperate battle. The witch in black laughed at her friend, her musical mirth filled with affection, sadness, and innocent delight. I can't even get a grasp on Alice's character. All I know is that Kitsy Land is back. Faded glory returned to Kitsy Land. The neon glow of innumerable lights illuminated the night. Speakers filled the air with the sound of vinyl music. Merry-go-rounds, small and large, rolled around and around. All in all, it made for a mind-blending spectacle. It was certainly possible to power the facilities by transmuting magical energy into electricity via alchemy. That said, simply supplying the park with electricity would not have brought back to life that which was broken. The young woman did this not by mixing chemicals into a compound, but by melting down divine providence into a witch's brew.
まずいわね。アリスのプロイは何個か見てきたけど、今回のは桁が違う。
The abilities of mages are on a completely different level than anything we've seen in Stay Night, for sure.
セット。
Really goes to show, like, the true, like, just how cool the extended universe of Nasu's works are. Stifling her anxiety, Aoko fired up the crests on her right arm. Magic circuits were a mage's engine, then their crests was software that assisted in magecraft. For the fledgling mage Aoko, this was her trump card. All she had to do was supply magical energy to her crest-based formula. It may not have been the strongest magecraft, but it was hers, proof that she was a successor of the Aozaki lineage.
講師2層直流数門
Is she going for tier 3? The August spells? Pattern of her crest she did to execute the formula, which then connected to her magic circuits. The process resembled trains changing rails, a puzzle involving dozens of circuits. She constructed it as swiftly as possible without sacrificing the quality of its construction. Instant magecraft cast without an incantation would not be enough to reach Alice Koenji. Aoko had gauged the strength of Alice's defense with her initial shots. She would dial up the power 5 times the next time, driving 20 tons of force into her target. 20 tons? Alice had the protection of the thick hanging fog and the dense barrier around her. However, this attack would be more than enough to pierce through both. If Aoko struck home, it could cave in Alice's chest and end the fight. Oh, but that would just kill her. At worst, it would at least knock Alice down from her position atop the clock tower.
そろそろいいかな
Shut up. As always, there was one guy who spoiled the deadly tension, pulling Aoko out of killer mode. Sandra had been looking back and forth between Aoko and Alice in confusion.
それでどういう話になったんだ
He said it like you might ask for directions to the train station. Normally, she would have lashed out in response, but his deadly serious tone shocked rather than shocked rather than angered her.
信じられない慣れてきた
This is your life now. That's your husband. I ship these two so much. Aoko swallowed back a sigh and returned her focus to activating her crest.
交渉は決裂ちょっと怒らせすぎた
Yeah.
あの子から見ればまあいい機会だし遊園地ごと私を亡き者にしようって腹ね
Sojiro tilted his head as if begging for a simpler explanation.
私割とあの子に恨まれてるから捕まったが最後どんな風に殺されるか想像すらできないわ 要するにあんたも私もあの子をどうにかしないと生きて帰れないってことよ。
そんなとばっちりだ。
Yeah. Rip. Sojiro on the worst day ever.
まあそういうことになるかもね。
As Sojiro protests in a tone wholly inappropriate to the situation, Aoko let another blast rip from her right arm. Let it rip! She was not aiming at Sojiro, though. A little earlier in the day, and Aoko would have been happy to do exactly that, but now her attention was focused on the girl in black atop the clock tower. Damn, it's like she just released a Kamehameha wave. No! Damn it, she has Pegasus guards. Aoko's mind struggled to catch up to her astonishment. She had fired the strongest Facet magic bullet she had the ability to conjure, and Alice blocked it. Yeah, okay, just casually. Just my Aga spell. I need Aja spells now. That much was to be expected. When Alice had her mind at defending herself, such an attack was child's play. What just happened? Something Aoko had never seen before left Alice's defense. A team of horses? A plague of locusts? No, those existed in the real world, unlike what Aoko had just witnessed. Normal creatures could not form like a spontaneous cloud of fog and then dissipate just as quickly into the night sky. Excuse me, what the fuck? Impossible things moved in impossible ways. Alice was not even supplying them with any power source. Those things never needed power in the first place. Those broken and discarded things did not follow the rules of mankind. Ew! What kind of stand fight is this? This is an invade. Oh my god, that is horrific. This was an invasion of fairy tales. Compared to them, the automaton looked merciful. Autonomous puppets were products of magecraft, but even they behaved as puppets should. These newly animated things, however, were nothing of the sort. This is actually like a genuine nightmare. Reminds me of the baby stand. Baby stando from part 3. Empty vessels became living creatures. Dummies warped to malformed beings. Oh yeah, this is Cinderella. There was a fog so dense with magical energy, it visibly spread to all corners of the park, bringing with it a monstrous welcoming party that easily numbered over 1,000. Spurred on by the shuddering sensation running down her spine, Aoko fired a barrage of single-action magic bullets. Balloons are balloon armor? What is this, fucking DDD? Her impulsive attack scattered futilely. The knights of the merry-go-round soared into the sky. Green, fire-breathing lizards flocked. The bakeries opened their doors once again, and human-sized loaves of fresh bread marched from their ovens as platoons of newly baked soldiers. Dude, imagine reading this scene while high. That would be an experience.
Aozaki, uchiro!
Oh my god, everything is burning. Those are stick figures! Aoko and Sojiro were completely surrounded. The Ferris wheel creaked as it gently turned. The rickety train car raced about the roller coaster tracks with kitsy tears streaming down its face aboard. Dude, we are in Elm Street right now. It was a grossly twisted fantasy. Girl in black reigned over the insanity-filled park. Oh, now we're screwed. Aoko was transfixed by the scene unfolding around her. Then she realized what was happening.
そうだ。これは
Alice had once told her of Mainster's familiars. Among them were 3 of particular notoriety, one of which she recalled being capable of something similar to this, and it was called...
プロイキッシャフラットスナーク
I have no idea what that is. Flat Snark.
青崎、だから後ろ。
Struck by Aoko's bullets, the creatures exploded into splinters. It was clear Aoko's shots were becoming more powerful, but it was also the case that these beings were less robust than your average automata.
しずきくんこっち
Aoko turned away from the clock tower, grabbed his hand, and began to run.
青崎。
It's such a cool set piece.
ごめん、これ無理。逃げるわよ。
逃げるってどこに？
どこって、とにかく行ける
Yeah,
ところまで。
seriously, we gotta move. One of the only times where it's fair for a character to say no time to explain. She shouted as though trying to persuade herself as she valiantly cleared a path. Aoko's magic bullets flew like a scream. Blowing away the creatures that blocked or simply gathered around their path, she made a hole for them to escape through. Are we going to Alice's perspective? Oh no, it was just a little scene. Transition. Oh man, look at all of them. Ragdolls. Bang, 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 bang. Magical bolts exploded like blue fireworks. Aoko and Sojo ran down the bumpy brick road. Their bond, forged in the heat of battle, went far beyond mutual convenience. They headed for the park's exit at full speed without exchanging a word or look. I'm loving this so much. This is peak. The weirdness only extended as far as the park border, so they would be safe as long as they made it outside. Oh my god, those are the bread boys. Okay, I thought the bread boys were like actual like little loaves, but they're stick loaves. Speaking in pure numbers, the difference in strength was 2 versus an army. Where's Kirby when you need him? Or rather, 1 versus an army. Sojo was hardly useful in this situation, and manpower wasn't really the issue here since they were facing puppets.
さっきの大丈夫？上からこうでっかいハサミが落ちてきたけど。
Aoko shouted as she blasted away the monsters that stood in their path. There was no time to stop for breath or even to look back.
なんとかギリギリ。
As Sojo pursued, his voice too had naturally become shrill. 5 minutes earlier, they had broken out of the siege at the plaza surprisingly fast. It seemed that the residents awakening differed case by case, with larger creatures taking additional time.
ラッキー、朝に弱いタイプばっかついた。
Aoko joked as she mowed down the small fry that popped up. But then...
Oh, okay.
That warning something outrageous extended its way down from above them.
What?
It was the claws of a 60-foot lobster adorning the roof of a seafood restaurant. Oh, that's not good. That's not good at all. Its pincers were like a guillotine. As Aoko and Sojiro cut across the front of the restaurant, the Red King pressed in at tremendous speed, keen on splitting them each in 2.
しずきくん、U ターン、こっちはダメ。
Oh my god. The gate was just on the other side of the restaurant, but they had to take the long way around in order to lose the giant lobster snapping at their heels. Larry, what are you doing? This isn't living like Larry. Letting along their detour had been a horde of monsters, too many to come out to count. Oh my god.
ギリギリ。
Giddy giddy. Sojiro called out in response, recalling just how narrowly he had avoided his head being severed clean from his body.
手前。うわ、なんだあれ。焼きたてか。
Oh yeah, they're freshly baked.
そうみたいね。要するに下級兵士よ。
Yeah, let's bake some bread. Aoko halted her sprint and set her crest into full operation.
7、6、5メートル。あの程度ならスナップだけで事足りる。
Tier 1, bullets. Sliding along the brick path, she brandished her right arm. She loosed a shadow of magic bullets. Snap was a single action spell that favored rate of fire over power, and it mowed down the monsters with satisfying pops.
青崎そっちも。
了解。
This is so badass. Oh my god, I love this so much. Blue explosions boomed along the lamp-lit promenade. Aoko's curtain of fire fanned out. It was a marvelous star-mined fireworks show. Toy-bred men turned to charcoal.
いける。数でこそ押されてるけど、この状態が続くなら逃げ切れる。しずきくん、そっちは。
I guess you could say they were baked.
いない、空いてる。ここからなら入り口の東側に出られるはずだ。
The east? Man, I thought he said west. With a magical barrage that should... Oh god, it's a blue bird. Is that Aozaki's bird? What's it? I don't remember what the... Is that it? Magical barrage that would leave an average spellcaster blue in the face. The novice mage broke through the siege. Meanwhile, a single bird keenly watched everything unfold. Yeah... Meanwhile, Alice, just chilling there. Oh, okay, so she's just been watching the entire time. The moment the bluebird descended into its master's field of vision, it made its high-pitched call. The girl listened expressionlessly to the report. Did she expect them to survive?
撃つこと、壊すことしか脳がなくても、青子の魔力の使い方は波じゃないから。
Oops, my bad. Robin flapped its wings as it tweeted in response. Perhaps it was criticizing Alice for complimenting Aoko. Perhaps it was jealous of Aoko for being praised by Alice. Alice could barely make sense of its chirping rant. Aoko Aozaki was a novice mage. Until just 2 years ago, she had grown up with no background in magecraft, compared to Alice, who was raised as a witch from birth. Aoko possessed far less talent and experience. There's simply no comparison to be made. In a contest of skills in magecraft, 10 times out of 10, Alice would be declared the victor. However, that narrative changed when it came to a battle for life or death. Alice Kuonji was not the type of mage suited to combat. While Aoko Aozaki, on the other hand, was built for it. In a contest that pitted magical energy against magical energy, even Alice would concede that Aoko had the upper hand. This reminds me of Frieren and Fern. Ako's manipulation of magical energy was extraordinary. Except for with Frieren and Fern, it was more so the speed, but you get the analogy. The scale of her magic circuits was smaller than that of Alice, but their rotational speed, durability, and output quality, not to mention effect... Oh, it is kind of the same. Not to mention efficiency, were otherworldly. That was Aoko Aozaki's hallmark. Though she had many failings when handling sophisticated formulae, in just 2 years of practice, Aoko had surpassed Alice in simple formulae that merely required an energy input. She also had a genius's instincts and adaptability. Though Aoko was not particularly proficient in executing magecraft, she was terrifyingly fast. If she had been born outside the Aozaki clan, she would have doubtless risen to fame as a competitive sharpshooter.
でも、残念ね。
That you have to kill her? In a straight shootout, Alice did not stand a chance. Alice Kuonji had never bothered to learn primitive magecraft like a magic bullets in the first place. She was the classic puppeteer. Her familiar served as her arms and legs to carry out all the particulars of a battle.
制限時間には気づいているわよね、青子。魔力はいくらでも貸してあげるけど、あなたの魔弾はあと半時で値崩れするわ。
Oh, why will the bullets be useless? Is there going to be a familiar that's going to... Chirping as if in agreement, the robin took flight. It had been nearly 10 minutes since Alice had made the amusement bark into her dominion. To what would the green fog give birth next? Aoko and Sojiro, still running about, would soon come to understand the gravity of their situation. Yep, something that the bullets are not going to work against. Yep, here it comes. Alice is an interesting character that I just can't quite get a grip on. She's very fascinating.
しずきくん、正門ってこっち?
And we have this epic track again. It's just... I know that their whole partnership was beneficial, but seeing some wholesome scenes with them, it's really hard to see them being pitted as enemies like this. Again, it's just the typical Magus way, of course. You know, Maguses will quickly throw each other under the bus at any moment if it benefits them. I mean, Rin is a lot like Aoko in the sense that she was acted cold but wasn't able to fully do the things that she wanted to do to be a full-on Magus. Whereas Alice is everything that Rin wanted to be. And I really want to know who Aoko's sister is, and like the beginning of the story with the girl and their grandfather and the dead animal, how that connects into the story. But yeah, there's a lot of definite talk about talent and how Aoko is just a genius, which I do enjoy because Aoko has definitely worked hard, but it's really cool to see how she's not like perfect, but she's just a genius at certain things, and it has led her to have practicality in life or death situations, which is perfect because she's going to be facing a lot of those in this.
ああ、その店を曲がれば出口だ。
Running non-stop at full speed had them at their limits. Their breath ragged, the duo rounded a corner at a breakneck pace. Amusement park though it was, this was still the infamous Kitsyland. It would have taken a high school student 20 minutes to sprint the entire circumference of the park. It would have taken my fat ass an hour. Though they were now intimately familiar with the park's geography. I fucking love that face, man. The pumpkin carriage is the final boss. May I just say though that the art direction is superb. Like every time I can't imagine what the budget was for the artists. I like the budget for this game. I feel like it had to have been one of the higher end visual novel budgets, and I could definitely see why, because it is a shorter end visual novel at like what 25 to 30 hours, which I know it sounds long, but there are some visual novels that are so long. And the production value, I couldn't even imagine how much they had to pay the VAs, the artists, the editors, oh my god. Especially the score. People who did the score. It was changing beyond recognition. Transformation was not limited to the park's residents either.
青崎、
何を？
言いたくないんだけど、この遊園地広くなってないか？
It was. The problem wasn't as mundane as mistaking the location of the exits, nor the strange terrain. No. The park was warping and twisting in upon itself. Even as they ran, its structure was expanding and growing like that of a living creature. Soon, the pair noticed that the mob encircling them had grown even stronger. Entrusting her back to Sojiro, Aoko summoned all of her effort just to keep from whining. No one would blame Sojiro for cowering in shock, or for Aoko to do the same. She bore responsibility for causing and then dragging him into this mess. She could not afford to succumb to panic.
大丈夫。落ち着け私。遊園地の果てはある。遠いけど、鉄柵はちゃんと見える。フラットスナークだって制限なしってわけじゃない。外に逃げるって選択は正しいはず。現状、外までは目算で1キロぐらいだけど。
Oh my god, with everything encircling you a whole mile to get there? Oh, I don't even know if you can do that. Until now, they'd been too concerned with simply running. Their breathing had been labored. If they had to run another mile without a rest, they'd end up collapsing along the way.
青崎、体大丈夫か？
A whisper from behind pulled Aoko back to reality.
大丈夫だけど、ちょっと一息入れたいわね。
賛成。ここから休みなしで外周まで走るのは。
驚いた。しずきくんも外まで走ろう派とは。
She let slip a giggle. Far from debilitated by panic, her comrade in arms had been analyzing the situation and forming an escape plan.
ちょっとだけ建物に逃げ込むのは。
気は進まないけど、それしかないわね。
The breadmen had them completely surrounded. Perhaps this might have been a problem for an average person, but for Aoko, breaking through the formation to get to the building would be a cinch. The issue was...
問題は、どんな店を選ぶかってこと。
As long as it doesn't have... If it's associated with anything that could be transformed into something... Oh my god, like imagine you go to Burger King and it's just the fucking king shows up. She considered the characteristics of the transforming park. What would pose a danger, and what was safe. The most important factor was not the strength or the complexity of the building.
そうだ。選ぶならあの単純さで正しいはず。
I can understand why this would be so scary to choose.
しずきくん、あっち。
After routing the monsters, Aoko hopped behind the counter, soon followed by Sojiro.
カウンターに隠れてて。
Oh, that's simple. Okay. Like she was in a western shootout, Aoko squared off against the monsters using the counter as cover. Sojiro's like, oh, I'm gonna go to sleep.
ビンゴ。ここならスナーク化しないんだ。
Snarkified. Noun. To get turned into bread. After assessing the current state of the enemy, Aoko sat down under the counter.
あいつらは。
店の周りで地団打踏んでるわ。理由があってね。あいつらはここには入ってこられないのよ。
Couldn't they just stay here all night? I suppose there's gonna be something that'll stop them. Aoko gave the perplexed Sojiro a grin and took a moment to catch her breath. She heaved a heavy sigh of relief and fatigue.
とりあえずコーヒーブレイクね。ここは遊園地の中でも遊びのない場所だから、あいつらにとっては鬼門なのよ。
Feels bad, man. Imagine actually being the owner of this restaurant back when this place was still alive.
レジスターも調理器具も最近のものだし、擬人化されたマスコットもないし、スナーク化するにはちょい文明犬すぎるってこと。
スナーク？
あいつらの名前よ。つけたのは私じゃなくてアリスなのかしらね。あの子の性格的にちょっと想像できないけど、まあとにかくそういう名前。
Perhaps now at ease from knowing they were safe, Sojiro seemed enthralled in her explanation. Aoko could not help but chuckle as Sojiro nodded sagely. It was certain that he had no idea what she was talking about. Normally this would have irritated her, but this time she was grateful for the warmth of his strange sobriety.
それはともかく、調子良さそうだな、青崎。
Mistaking her smile for composure, Sojiro broke into a smile himself. It was just another link in a chain of misunderstandings, but there was no need to redress it.
あれ？あなたから見てもわかる？私のマダンの威力が上がっているの。
そりゃ、ミラーハウスで散々追いかけ回されたからな。あの時と同じ動作なのに操作が増していれば嫌でもわかる。でもいいのか？確か数に限りがあるとか言ってただろう。もう随分撃っちまったけど、20、30じゃ効かないぞ。
I was actually gonna bring this up, but I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to be one of those guys that like pulls out the bullshit like, excuse me, it's a plot hole. Remember she said she could only fire 7 shots. Well, she fired 8. Bad writing.
あんた、時々あれよね。
Her opinion of him improved just a little bit.
なんでもない。
Never mind.
私のマダンの威力が上がっているのは単純に魔力の濃度の問題。さっきから霧がかかってるでしょ？
Yeah, that's what Alice
全部
meant
魔
for
力なのよ。
she supplied the fuel
弾を撃つための燃料と思って。
for like unlimited ammo, basically. Magical energy was divided into 2 broad categories. First was odd, produced inside a mage's body. Second was mana, which filled the atmosphere. You know, when I was younger, most games always had mana be like... I always felt like mana was such a generic term that was just like everything. But then when you realize that odd was always like the second part of it that was inside of people, I was like, whoa, this shit is so cool. Raiding Berserk was like the coolest thing ever when I learned about the different types of magecraft and like odd and stuff. And the ego of the mind and different... At the moment, the amusement park had turned into a fairy tale land overflowing with mana. Although it meant nothing to the average person, to a mage it was a paradise where spells could be cast as much as one pleased.
じゃあ残り魔力とやらは気にしなくていいのか。注意すべきは怪我と体力だけ。
まあ、個人的な責任においてはその限りね。
Sojiro breathed a sigh of relief. For Sojiro's perspective, more so than the monsters she mowed down, Aoko was the biggest bully on the playground. He had been concerned about what would happen should her magical energy be exhausted, but luckily for him, she was far from surrendering her crown.
頼りにしてくれるのは嬉しいけど、ぬか喜びよ。あんな雑魚たち、ただ動いているだけのガラクタなんだから。スナーク本体は当然として、アリスが他の童話の怪物を出してきたら、
Ooh, the
私じゃ
snark
どうにもなら
itself.
ない。
Then it's game over.
他の童話の怪物。遊園地をこんな風に変えたやつ以外にまだいるのか？
That sucks.
そう。プロイキッシャーって名付けられた、私たちでさえ目を背けたくなる反則。不可能な夢物語をも再現する時代に取り残されたデタラメよ。
Sojour's expressions seem to be calling out on the hypocrisy.
あのね、私たちはちゃんと現代に寄り添った魔術師よ。できないこともあるし、当たり前のことだけど、近代兵器にはかなわない。20世紀、まあいろんな戦争の後押しで兵器の進化は私たちを超えちゃったから。けどあの子のは違う。どんなに人間の技術が進歩しようと関係ないって怪物なの。例えばあのブレッドマンいるでしょ。あいつには自動拳銃とか効かないわよ。多分意味が分かっていないから。
That's crazy. Really? Aoko casually gestured outside past the counter.
アリスの使い魔は全てが空想によってこねられた神秘なの。前提からしてありえないことだから、通常の物理法則と折り合いが悪い。空想と現実は両立しないっていうごく当たり前の理由だね。
They reside in the interstice, I see.
なるほど。ブレッドマンってのはあの動く焼きたてパンのことなんだな。
Sojiro seemed to ignore the majority of Ako's explanation and only reacted to the part that caught his curiosity. So they really are bread. Can I eat them? I don't know why, but Sojiro reminds me of Dragon Ball Z Abridged Goku. Like, are you a Yoshi?
話を戻すけど、あいつらと近代兵器の相性は最悪。ロケット弾でも効果はないわ。意思の疎通、秩序の共有ができてないから。プロイキッシャーにとって彼らの世界には存在しないもの、意味がわからないものは触れることなく無産する。
That is crazy.
彼らに通じるのは同じ神秘を帯びた魔力だけっていうデタラメぶりよ。もう完全に概念空間っていうか概念宇宙っていうか。
So if my father touched them, then they'd disappear. Ah, I can break the system.
要するにあいつらは伝承防御っていう特別なルールを持っていて、単純に強い力、強い魔術じゃ効果は薄いの。元になった童話にちなんだ欠点をつかないと倒せない。
Dang, imagine if the Fate Servants had folklore defense.
ギリシャ神話のアキレスあたり分かりやすい例え
Yeah,
な
I
んだ
was
け
just
ど、
about to
知ってる？
say that if Achilles was summoned here, you couldn't just hit his foot, his heel.
そう、無事帰れたら飛び丸あたりに教えてもらって。定番だけどいい話よ、あれ。
Sojiro was feeling pretty lost, but he did the best to grasp the situation. Thought that ploy kickshaws were scary enough to chase Aoko and the puppet from before out of the house barefoot. Certainly, the scene before them was the stuff of nightmares. But Sojiro had a different way of thinking.
やっぱり青崎の方が怖くないか。
Wow.
あんた死ぬの？
Do you want to die? I love her so much. He's right. It's too real. Sojiro waved in protest, suddenly pointing out that she had made his case for him.
あのね、今私たちを取り囲んでるのはおまけに過ぎないの。
It's like Maki moment from Danganronpa.
アリスにとってあのブレッドマンもロブスターもソーセージ屋のミンチマシーンも全部が全部私が撃ってる魔弾より価値がない。
Really quick. Wait.
あんた死ぬの？
Yes.
いい？あの動くマスコットたちはね、ただのおまけなの。アリスが解放した童話の怪物の一呼吸みたいなものなのよ。
呼吸ってこれが？
Soldier's like, what the fuck?
私だって考えたくないわよ。
Yeah, crazy. Now, whereas Soldier's like, I don't even know what the hell you're talking about.
でもそれが現状。たった一体の童話の怪物だけで私たちは手一杯。そういうわけだからアリスがあと一体でも追加したら諦めて。
追加ってこれに制限はないのか？
Yeah, you'd think, right?
あの子が出し惜しみしなければまだ何体かストックはあるでしょうけど、例えば皮がないと目を覚まさない怪物もいる。この遊園地 噴
Oh,
水
so
はある
there's
け
no
ど
river,
川
so
はな
she
いでし
can't
ょ。
summon that one. That's cool.
元になった童話縛りなの、あの子の使い魔は。
童話ってかけそばとか。
What?
ここに川がないのは不幸中の幸いね。もしあったらもっと直接制圧に向いたやつが出てきてた。
Aoko continued completely ignoring Sojiro.
話の続きだけど、アリスの魔術の基本はマザーグース。
Yeah, we did learn about
知らない
that.
か。イギリスの歌で遊び心に富んだメルヘンチックな内容よ。ただそっち系のプロイキッシャーは怖くないの。みんなそれなりになんとか魔術にも落とし込める範囲だから。
聞きたくないんだけど、そっち系じゃ
What,
ない
what,
の。
what about the spooky ones?
マザーグースを下地にしたとある創作童話系。あの子のお母さんが好きでね。こっち系のはどいつもこいつも尋常じゃない。
Dang, no
私たちか
mage.
ら見ても勘弁してって言いたくなるわ。で、この遊園地を生き返らせたのはこっち系よ。多分フラットスナークってやつだと思う。私も聞き流していたから詳しくはわからないけど。
Sojiro swallowed discomfort making its way up his throat. He really wanted her to explain things a little less vaguely, but something she had just said necessitated further investigation.
待て青崎、あの子の話を聞き流したってなんで。
いや説明してもらったのは随分と前だしあの頃はアリスの話あんまり信じられなかったのよね。
That's amazing.
私が素人だと思って大げさに自分の魔術を語ってくれてるな、舐められてるなとか。
Adorable. In truth, if anyone hadn't taken the lesson seriously, it was Aoko. She would learn that lesson firsthand soon enough, when she experienced just how real Alice's monsters were. She'd also discover how heretical the Minster witches truly were in the world of magecraft.
その聞き流した内容は。
何でも強力な結界を張るプロイだって。アリスが受け継いだプロイは山ほどあるけど、その中でもえりすぐりの一つよ。捨てられたもの、忘れられたものを童話的に蘇らせるやつで、今まで誰も破ったことがないとか。
So we need to be the first, or I don't know.
それでついたあだ名が
Oh, okay,
触れられぬもの。
that sounds like a super boss in an RPG.
フラットスナークじゃないのか。
それもあだ名。とにかく正体がわからないやつばっかりなんで、
I
一
like
つ
the
の個体
untouchable
に複
more.
数の名前
Flat
が付けら
Snark
れるの。
sounds like a euphemism.
フラットスナークはその中でも正体不明さはトップランクのデタラメぶりよ。あなたルイス・キャロルのスナーク狩りって本知ってる？
Oh, that's what it's a reference to. I've never heard of that. I mean, I've heard of Lewis Carroll, but not the haunting of the Snark.
いや、そもそもルイス・キャロルというの
Who's Lewis Carroll?
そっからか。ドジスン教授はそうね、特殊性癖を持った妄想紳士ってとこ。まあこっちは別にどうでもいいか。人によっては時間の無駄だろうし。今重要なのは彼が残した著作の方。スナーク狩りはね、スナークって呼ばれる正体不明の怪物を捕まえようと奔走する冒険家たちの話なの。キャロルらしい皮肉ばっちり、支離滅裂、意味不明、結末不在の本当に困った本で、一行は島で苦しみつつ最終的にはスナークを見つけるも
Wow,
の
what an
の、
ending.
見つけたベイカーは唐突に姿を消して終わってしまう。よくわからないもの探しに奔走する人間の風刺なんだけど、この遊園地において誰がベイカーで何がスナークかは言うまでもないでしょ。
The owner of Kitsyland? I could have elected not to share this, but Flat Snark had other popular names as well. The Enigmatic Island, the Five-Dimensional Plane. These names were not given to it by Alice, but rather muttered by mages whom the Minsters defeated. In mathematics, Snark is a term used in graph theory to refer to contradictory and impossible planographs. A plane proven to be unable to exist in this world was given the name apt for an ill-fated existence, paradoxical in nature. I've never heard of this. The fairy tale monster ascribed this name was said to hold no form discoverable by man. Aoko also declined to mention something else. White Snark was a fairy tale monster that could grow. It would hide somewhere in the amusement park, continuously exhaling magical energy until the park completely transformed into a fantasy land.
脅かしてもしょうがないし。
何か言ったか？
別に。簡単に言って童話世界の再生がフラットスナークの力なの。この遊園地との相性は抜群でしょうね。何しろ元々が童話を元にした遊び場だから。
If this had been a business district, for example, White Snark would have posed far less of a threat. At most, its power would be limited to projecting the shadow of a dinosaur onto a building's window panes.
あ、だからここは安全だって。
Oh no. Sojo realized that something was wrong. Just a gluttonous liquid dripping onto his back. It's gonna start growing, isn't it? Snark's here. He looked up to the ceiling. Their eyes met. Before he had a chance to think, Sojo hopped up from the floor.
青崎外だ!
Taking the initiative, he jumped out from behind the counter.
バカ、何して!
Trying to stop him from committing an act of suicide, she also came to her feet. Immediately, she noticed something coming to life overhead. Is that the Snark? Oh, okay. That thing's massive. The gargantuan mouth clamped shut. With no mascot to speak of, the burger joint itself began to transform into one giant monster.
もう、なんで天井にピエロの絵なんて描いてんのよ、あの店。
That's crazy.
普通もっと違うところに労力割かない？そんなにピエロが好きなら入り口にでも飾っとけ。
Oh, Aoko aired out her grievances as she ran. There's no safe haven left. Moment by moment, the last remnants of civilization are being eroded away by fairy tales. Alright, back to it. It's a dragon? A dragon? The amusement park had reached the final stage of snarkification. It was not just the mascot characters that had been granted life. At the burger joint, even the buildings had begun to transform. The roller coaster that made its way about the park writhed and twisted like a Chinese dragon. Aoko and Sojo stared dumbfounded by the Ferris wheel, which had grown over 250 feet in height. Hordes of bread men. I was just about to say hordes of bald men closed in on them, as if to offer tickets. Yeah, we're frontliners. Stop. Mobs of trinkets, actual kickshaws, rampaged the park. Whenever a hole was punched in the envelopment, it was instantly filled. It was a battle of attrition with no one in sight. But that was a matter of course, as there were few fairy tales about limited resources. They're everywhere. It's like a battle of 1,000 breadmen.
スナーク本体を探して。童話の怪物には本体に当たる器物があるの。それさえ壊せば遊園地から出られるはず。
How are we gonna find that?
本体ってどんな？
さっき言ったでしょ。童話の怪物は現実にないものだって。今までいなかったおかしなやつとか現実じゃありえないもの。それが本体。
Weird and impossible.
おかしなやつって例えば。
だから。
Yes.
命のある人形とか空飛ぶゴーカートとか。
Aoko paused her firing for a moment. After saying this out loud, she realized just how deep their grave was dug. The amusement park was a treasure trove of fairy tale-esque creatures on any given day. Who could say what was impossible amidst the newly transfigured knickknacks running around?
そっか。おかしくないやつなんて一つ
Everything
も
in
な
here
い
is
んだ。
weird. We're in Weirdmageddon.
この中に紛れ込んでる。
It's the advantage that it has, and it's only gonna grow stronger. Is it not the carriage? Hoping that she was wrong, Aoko bit her bottom lip. White Snark was the type of puller that developed bounded fields. Seeing as it was commanding so many familiars, it would not be unusual for its main body to have little or even no defenses. Furthermore, if it was modeled from a story about it being untouchable and identifiable, it would be logical to assume that it would collapse in on itself shortly after being discovered.
逆に言えば、見つければ私たちの勝ち。そんな脆いやつが雑魚に紛れ込む。木の葉を隠すなら森の中って言うけど。
That horse is terrifying. It's like the R horse in Berserk. This is closer to the truth than Aoko realized. As long as there's the slightest possibility of it being hit by one of Aoko's stray bullets, it would not dare appear in front of them. Its true form was orchestrating the park from somewhere else.
でもどこかに見えているはず。
The carriage, right? The
ス
pumpkin
ナークは本の
carriage.
主題だもの。常にページのどこかにいないと主人公の資格がない。
But where? But very simply, the Ferris wheel was the safest location in the park, as well as a symbol of its past glory, perhaps.
あの子を捕まえるのは
Her eyes opened wide at the sudden suggestion. While Aoko had been trying to come up with a plan to overcome the stalemate, it seemed Sojiro had been racking his brain as well. His proposal was a simple one. Why don't we just catch Alice instead? If they could not find the Snark, they just needed to take out its master, Alice. Alice had not moved at all from the clock tower. Even from here, they could make out her figure draped in moonlight.
それは一番ダメ。アリスを殺してもフラットスナークは止まらないし、このトンデモが外に溢れ出すことになる。だいたい私じゃあの子を殺せないから。よくて半殺しがいいところ。
The breadman, angered at the insults hurled toward its master, moved to attack and was mercilessly burned to a crisp. The two stood back to back, catching their breath. No plan to speak of and no route of escape, they had reached rock bottom. Meanwhile, the oddities were forming a circle around the prey as if they smelled blood in the water. Were they to be dragged into a bakery for the oven? Minced in the meat grinder at the butcher shop? Skewered and paraded around atop the carousel? Walked the plank of the thorny pirate ship? After 2 years of slumber, they were eager to welcome their new guests.
一応聞いておきたいんだけど。
何？手短にね。今考え事してるから。
ああ、あの連中が何をしたいか嫌っていうほど伝わってくるんだけど。
Yeah, that's
そ
a
れって
fair
あの子の
question.
趣味なのかな。
その疑問はなかったわ。
I doubt it. Okay.
連中の人間嫌いは遊園地の怨念とフラットスナークの性格じゃない。基本的にまともなやついないから、アリスの使い魔って。あ、でも
Aoko was unable to deny that there were some similarities.
それは結構。それで青崎の考え事って止める方法考えついたのか。
期待させて悪いけどお手上げ。ま、あんたが殺されれば止まるでしょうけど。
それは嫌だ。とりあえず逃げよう。
え、しずきくん？
Oh shit, Shizuki just said, nope, we're getting out of here. She blinked in surprise at the sudden turn of events. Sojiro, who had until now been meekly following her lead, had grabbed Aoko's hand and pulled her with him into a head-on charge with a swarm of bread in an attempt to break out of this encirclement. Oh my god, he's
意味わかんない。
like a football player. He really said,
なんで今の流れでそうなるのよ、あんたは。
oh my god, Shizuki just went god mode. Badass. Aoko nonetheless followed Sojiro's uncharacteristically gung-ho lead, cursing him all the while. Alone, he had no chance of breaking through the surrounding wall of enemies with brute force. Aoko regained her bearings and let fly a spray of magic bullets ahead of Sojiro. They burst through the net and ran as hard as they could. At this point, all that's left to do was what they planned from the outset, get out of the park. But not before addressing what needed to be addressed.
なんでよ、さっきはあんなに諦めよかったのに。
Aoko could not begin to comprehend Sojiro's reaction.
ミラーハウスの時と今は違うだろう。いいから走れ。
Exactly, that was then, this is now.
違わないわよ。あんたを殺そうとした私も、あんたを殺したいアリスも。
Though she wondered what was getting her so worked up, Aoko did not stop. She told herself that the degree of Sojiro's stupidity, charging the breadmen so recklessly, had caused her to lose her cool.
あのね、一緒に逃げてるぐらいで勘違いしないでくれる？言っとくけど私、明日になったらまたあんたを殺しに行くから。死にたくないってんなら、ここで私からも逃げ出したら？
それはまた今度の話だろう。大体青崎に殺されるのならいいけど、
He did
あの子
say
に殺
that
されるのは嫌だ。
he doesn't mind if it's her.
だからなんで？
だって顔も知らない、話したことさえない相手だ。
It was like someone had doused water over her blazing fury. Ako's anger was snuffed out by the absurd simplicity of his reasoning.
顔も知らないって。
Could it be that Sojo did not mind being killed by someone as long as she had met them? Aoko grimaced as she followed him. From her spot atop the clock tower, the girl observed the growth of her familiar. White Snark, a savior of the discarded. It was a vile, vulgar fairy tale monster who provided those abandoned by fate with a glimmer of hope before snatching it away. Alice had it under her control, but she was still keen to keep the Snark from expressing its bad habits. After completing a lap around the park that had now reached the size of an entire town, the Robin made its situation report.
そう外を目指しているの
It seemed Aoko was prioritizing the safety of the boy, even if it resulted in wasting an entire day, choosing not to capitulate on a decision was very much like her.
青子のことだから時計台ごと私を焼き払いに来るかと思ったけど
Wow. The bluebird cheeped in response. Was it denying its master's portrait of Aoko, or agreeing that it was Aoko's style to do exactly that? An outsider might interpret its interjections either way.
退屈
Robin jumped at being addressed so unexpectedly. It chirped and flapped its wings like a flustered servant, frantic to say otherwise.
珍しく気があったわね
Flat Snark time.
いいわせっかくのゲームだしもう少しだけ盛り上げましょう
Calmly, she pulled out a small object from her pocket. It was a dark gray Easter egg. Emanating from inside it was the ticking of a clock. Okay, we're gonna fight the Easter Bunny. I got it. The Robin knew it to be a ploy kickshaw with a bad attitude far exceeding Flat Snark's, known to be among the best in one-on-one Oh, it's not Flat Snark itself. Oh my god, CG
いってらっしゃ
animation.
い称える時間は20分に設定したわ
So we gotta survive for 20
いつ
minutes?
も通り控えめに壊れてきて
And together with the witch's breath, the egg-filled praise disappeared. Suddenly, a strong wind swept through the park. The words, "I could have killed them all by myself," floated through the air. It was the disappointment of something enormous that was visible to all, yet overlooked. Aoko and Sojiro continued their dash toward the boundary separating the park from outside. The curious horde that stood in their way had reduced in number. The iron fence that separated the two from the outside world was just over 300 yards away. Fortunately, there were no particularly large buildings barring the path. If the Ferris wheel had stood in their way, that would have spelled the end, but thankfully it had yet to reach its full strength. The only thing that appeared before them were weak oddities that could easily be handled by Aoko's simple magecraft. Yep, it's gonna steal the hope away. She would have said, "Make it to the fence," if only her lungs would allow it. Since Aoko was utilizing the ample mana filling the park, her tank of magical energy was nearly full. Moreover, the condition of her body's circuits was steadily improving, to the extent that she would be able to unleash at least one all-out onslaught. Until something unusual was hovering above her field of vision. It was locked on Sojiro, hovering 10 feet above him over to one side.
しずきくんちょっと
ああ、さっきからついてきてる。
Sojiro had seemingly noticed it before Aoko had his previous awkward glances toward the sky. In truth, it would have been stranger for him not to notice, as the thing was practically glued to him. Whoa. In terms of its size, floating objects measured about 3 feet in diameter. Tiles covered its exterior, about which a multitude of spinning lights. Multitude of spinning lights danced about. Soldier asked, not really sure what to call it.
卵卵って言ったら割れる
Yeah,
卵
something's gonna hatch. Her bullets bounced off of it like it was made of rubber. That trait, the ability to deflect all outside interference, confirmed to Aoko that this thing was undoubtedly a ploy kickshaw.
やっぱり外からのルールじゃ壊れないかしずきくんあれから絶対に目をそらさないでいい何があっても見続けること視界
Okay. Aoko picked up her pace as she barked orders. The Eggman who sat on a wall. Eggman. He would crack, just as the tale spoke of. Humpty Dumpty, you mean? Nothing anyone could do or say would cause him to fall, but the moment they stopped looking, he would tumble down and break into pieces.
曰く王様の軍隊でも元に戻せない数の破片。
It was the Mother Goose's poem, Humpty Dumpty. If Sojiro was its target, then the moment he averted its gaze, it would tumble and explode.
まあ爆発するかどうかは知らないけど。
I have no idea. Either way, it was going to scatter something troublesome when it fell. If its oval shape, the keyhole adorning the front, and writing inscribed upon it, they all made her anxious. If it was an egg, that meant it was going to hatch at some point. Even if he continued to stare, once the time came for whatever was inside to come out, they would have even less ability to conserve their energy.
青崎、早すぎないか。あまり全力で走ると。
後のことは考えないで。いいからしずきくんは卵だけに集中して。
At this critical juncture, breadmen stepped out to join the egg and block their path.
邪魔！
The breadmen were marching forth in the Grand Battalion. At her level of firepower, Aoko should have easily mowed them down. However... Oh, they're getting auto-rezzed.
片焼きかこの。
Or they just have hard crusts? Like, I gotta do level 2 or level 3 on these guys. Oh, I think those are level 3s. Yeah. Draw formula, triggered a bullet encased in a full wind jacket. There were previous shots with the equivalent of a machine gun volume, and this was her artillery shot. I think this is a 2... I don't know if that's a 2-shot or a 3-shot. The hand-crushed bread that had absorbed her snapped without a dent, scattered into thousands of tiny pieces at her draw's torrent. Jizuka's like, holy shit! That could have been me earlier. Of course, the destruction did not end with just the breadmen. What had once been a brick road was now thoroughly stripped of its... Oh, but he looked away. The nearby stalls had been warped into twisted steel skeletons. It was a spectacle that made Sojiro question what the greater obstacle to their escape was, the wall of breadmen or Aoka's ability to lay waste to things.
ちょっとなんで距離取るのよそこ。そばにいないと危ないじゃない。ほらもっとこっち。言っとくけど、あんたがあいつらに囲まれちゃったらアウトよ。私人質とか意味ないタイプだし、そもそも区別して撃つとかそういうのできないし。
This made a lot of sense to Sojiro. He had not fully appreciated the part about hostages, but he got the gist of it.
つまり、今はどこであろうと危険なのか。
あんたね。
Offended though she was by his typical naive response, she could not help but be impressed. Sojiro was a straight arrow through and through. His eyes stayed firmly focused on the egg overhead. Oh, okay, no, he did. That's my boy. Even amidst the chaos of the melee unfolding before him.
その分なら安心か。物分かりは悪いけど、一度言われたことはきっちり守るあたり。
そんなことより青崎、俺の気のせいならいいんだけど。
They do.
さっきのパン。
It's weird.
硬くなかったか。
まあね、あいつら少しずつ強くなってきてるわ。大量生産が軌道に乗ったんで、今度はクオリティアップをテーマにしたのかも。
Oh my god, like a real factory.
しずきくんでもお察しの通り、ここからは手強くなっていく一方よ。あのパンたちでさえ個体差が出てきたみたいだし。
That is so creepy.
考えたくないけど、そのうちジャム塗ったりレタス乗っけたり、果ては合体したりして。
Oh, when are we gonna get the bread orgy H scene? Though she was joking, her eyes were dead serious. Sojiro shuddered at the thought of the situation growing even more dire.
じゃあ、そのうちミラーハウスの人形ぐらいに怖くなるのか、あいつら。
Mm-hmm.
間違いなくね。そこまでレアなパンになったら、私も自分だけで手一杯になる。ところでしずきくん、ああいうのと喧嘩できる？
Sojiro shook his head, a look of complete aversion upon his face.
でしょ？なら急ぎましょう。いろいろ余裕ないんだから。
Aoko took a quick deep breath and began to sprint once again. Far in the distance, through the fog, the iron fence waited 300 paces away. As long as nothing happened, they would make it there in one piece. Sojiro followed after Aoko, holding on to that all-too-convenient hope. There it is. Maybe it doesn't fall with the aversion of gaze, it falls as soon as your hope is at its most, prevalent. But hope was something ever fleeting. In fact, it lasted not even 300 yards. The edge of the amusement park may well have been the edge of the world. There it is, the outside world. What? Oh. Oh no. Fuck. Oh my god, that is the biggest cock. Dozens of undulating horizons could be seen, crowding the sky like a giant cloud or a thick curtain, or perhaps groaning lips. It was the end of the road, the outer limit of an outrageous and fantastical realm. And yet, Aoko found it to be much like the last page of an enormous picture book. The sight turned her mind blank. Well, this is about as bad as it gets, she thought. The Snark, this island of despair, had at last brought Aoko to her knees as she stared at the swelling border. The park indeed had an end. Now, as Aoko and Sojiro had expected, a fence divided the amusement park from the residential area neighboring it. It had both doubled in height and been made sturdier. Another hurdle she had foreseen before, adversely, even laying eyes on it. Expecting it to have been snarkified, Aoko had come prepared to demolish an obstacle or two. But this construction before her went far beyond a mere wall. It was an ocean that separated the underworld from the mortal one. The iron fence was like a restless, surging sea. One or two walls could easily be toppled. Even 10 or 20 could be dealt with one way or another. Between the power left in her body and that which filled the park, putting on a brave front was within her power. She could fully mobilize her circuits and her crests to the point of burnout in a last-ditch effort, like some reenactment of the parting of the Red Sea.
でも、それで終わり。
Even if a path could be opened, she would not have the energy left to walk it. And it was obvious what would become of her afterward. The residents would hardly forgive her for wreaking such havoc around their park. Like ants drawn to honey, they would swarm the helpless girl and tear her to pieces. Despondent and exhausted, she felt the faint sting of remorse, escaping the park. Looking back on how they had gotten here, Aoko recognized that her choices had been her undoing. Under the golden full moon, beams of steel bent and merged like wire-frame sculptures. It was only a matter of time before the amusement park itself became one colossal monster. The horde of familiars gathered in the plaza where Alice was had formed an impenetrable blockade around her. Just above the head of the boys, beside her, the whispering egg, called Scratch Dumpty, continued to shuffle what appeared on its surface.
Aozaki!
Shizuki-kun.
The boy's voice snapped Aoko out of her trance, if only for a moment. The stark reality of the situation quickly dawned on the novice mage. The sheer hopelessness of it all, as it ripped out and snatched away any will she had to resist.
ゲートに行こう。ここはどうしようもないけど、入り口ならもうちょっとマシだろ。
And yet, Shizuki still has hope.
フラットスナークだっけ？こいつにもルールがあるって言ったじゃないか。
Oh shit, what is Shizuki's plan?
なら、これは役割の問題だ。初めから鉄柵は通れない壁だけど、ゲートなら出入り口として機能しているかもしれない。
Sojiro had not given in to panic. Aoko found herself honestly admiring Sojiro's ability to analyze Snark's characteristics given the circumstances. Now calm, she stilled her resolve.
そうね。確かに門はあると思う。けど、たどり着くのは難しいわ。一番弱かった焼きたてパンですら、広場や入り口にはもっと上等なのがたむろしてるだろうし、門だってあの観覧車以上の怪物かもしれない。確か大きなキッツィちゃんだったでしょ。
青崎はゲートには行かないのか。
まあね。それよりこっちの方が現実的だし。
うん。
And Aoko took another glance at the undulating iron fences. It was too late to achieve their goal of making it out alive. In that case, she decided to prioritize the other promise she had made.
今からこの鉄柵を壊すから、あなたはそこから外に出て。
No, Shizuki won't allow that.
それで、私の役割はおしまいよ。
Though her words were few, her tone told the whole story. She was telling him to escape by himself.
信じられない。こんなの青崎だけじゃ壊せないだろ。
私だけならね。 でも今はこの遊園地が味方してる。燃料がこれだけあるんだから。ま、それでも1回が限度だから、穴を開けたらあんたには全力で走り抜けてもらうしかないけど。
She would carve a path through this iron sea of fences, gambling on one final effort, a great incantation to launch the biggest projectile she could manage. As an outsider, Sojiro could not even begin to imagine just how much of a burden this would be for her. All he could imagine was a hazy vision of Aoko being left behind in this park. What would happen to her? Would that girl in black come to save her? Cruel as it was to imagine, he knew she would not. After Aoko had exhausted her very best in order to save him, that girl would not stay her hand. The only way Alice would let Aoko off the hook was if Aoko killed Sojiro as payment. And so...
20メートルぐらい離れてて準備に手間取るけど、その卵の表面が茹で上がるまでには終わらせるから。
Went without saying that this was the only path.
待ってくれ。俺を逃がすって言うけど、それに意味はあるのか、青崎。
Yeah.
ないけど、外に出られたところでアリスから逃げ切れるとは思えないし。
Yeah.
けど、これぐらいは最後の意地よ。守るって言ったんだから、できるところまでやらないと。
That's just admirable, I love it. Surprised by her seemingly moral stance, Sojiro saw Aoko in a new light. But of course, Sojiro realized that she was not fighting for his sake, but for the sake of her pride.
そうだったな。けど、それなら俺だけ逃がすのはらしくないぞ。
何よ、いいから離れてて。
Aoko eased off just a bit. She recalled how an hour ago he had gotten the better of her.
青崎、まだ意地を張れるんなら他のことをやろう。このお化けみたいな鉄柵を壊せるなら他に壊すべきものがあるはずだ。
ないわよ。悪いけど私は目に見えるものしか壊せないの。最後まで形のない希望にすがるとか考えるのも寒気がする。いい？今はフラットスナークなんかよりこの壁を壊してあんたを足抜けさせるのが私の現実。
逃げるのか。
Oh, wow, that is... Aoko was just about to turn her back on him when Sojiro clutched her hand. His words caused something inside of her to boil with rage. It was as though someone had set her heart on fire. Surprise that pricked open her true feelings and the disappointment she felt toward herself thawed her frozen limbs.
誰が逃げるのはそっちで逃がしてあげるのはこっちだって言うのよ。甘く見ないで。
そうか。ならその気迫は本命のために取っておこう。それまでは俺も手伝うから。
Damn, Sojiro, God, what a guy.
は？手伝う？それこそ無駄な気遣いよ。あったまきた。いいから逃げろバカ。だいたい走り詰めで息も絶え絶えなやつなんか使えないわよ。
そりゃいい加減ヘトヘトだけど、そういう青崎なんか疲れ以上に傷の方が痛んでるだろ。
Not to mention the injury to her back that Aoko had nearly forgotten about. Even now, she couldn't ignore the pain that the automaton had inflicted on her spine. The iron will, she'd managed to push it out of her mind. Mostly.
ほら、魔術とか抜きにすればまだ俺の方がマシじゃないか。入り口までおぶっていくことぐらいならなんとか。
Dude, the Giga Chad.
できないことは口にしないで。
He is making promises he can keep.
もういいから言って。慣れているもの、私は。
You're used to this?
でもあなたは違う。こういうの初めてでしょ。
Oh god, Aoko is used to having promises be broken.
だからいいの。
The fact that they were a team. The fact that she would still have to kill him after all of this. None of the irony was lost on her as she said these words. It didn't matter anymore. Still, Sojiro didn't let go of her hand. He gripped it even harder. His expression was the same as ever. Aoko frowned, trying to figure out if he was upset with her.
確かにこういうのは初めてだ。けど山じゃ危険な目ぐらい合ってる。鹿に襲われたことだってあるんだぞ、俺は。
I've even been attacked by a deer, you know. As a city girl, she had no idea what it meant to be attacked by a deer, but His determination was apparent enough. True. Looking back on it now, he had maintained his composure through it all. A normal person would barely be able to talk through such panic. Perhaps growing up deep in the mountains far from civilization had taught him how to stay calm in the face of so much.
だから信じてくれ。少しでいいから。
He spoke his plain, unadulterated feelings, and released his hand. There was no lie in him. In fact, he was too honest. So much that she found it hard to believe him. Sojiro had no reason to go that far. As it stood, Aoko had no future. After confessing this and telling him to escape, why did this boy still offer to help a person like her?
わからない。どうしてそこまでするの？私に付き合えばあなたは死ぬのよ。これが最後だからちゃんと考えてよね。あなたはここで逃げるべきよ。
それはわかるよ。でも行かない。
Sojiro answered immediately, realizing that Aoko was looking for his reason. This level of insight in Sojiro demanded a round of applause.
そうすると、青崎が死んでしまいそうだ。
His words were as irrational as always.
だからどうしてそこまでするのよあんたは。
She was yelling out of frustration. After thinking for a moment, Sojiro replied,
そりゃ、君が好きだからだろ。
Oh my god, why am I tearing up at this, dude? What the fuck? Simple and to the point. His face seemed to ask why she would even question him so. There was a pause, no more than 2 seconds. His surprise attack had stopped Aoko in her tracks. Alice was not the only one who had an ace up her sleeve. That line reached deeper even than White Snark had ever hoped to. All Aoko could respond with was an expression of pure shock. It was a simple, stubborn reason, the strongest kind on earth. Sojiro Shizuki was indeed incomprehensible to be able to work unconditionally with someone who was trying to kill him. But she felt as though she'd finally grasped a sliver of his true nature. Toby, Maru, and the others' assessment of him was correct, as vexing as it was for her to admit.
バカね。私はあなたのこと嫌いなのに。
He laughed at her sour grumbling. At this point, he was used to her insults. The clash of wills ended here. Ako's blood ran hot from her blazing heart. If he's going to make a face like that, all she could do was try to think of a way to get them both home.
私だって逃げっぱなしは性に合わないし。
Dude, why the fuck? That scene almost made me cry, dude. Like, it got me misty-eyed really bad. Like, I don't know why, but that got me close. Like, I'm not even gonna lie. I don't even... God damn, dude. Like, the way that Nasu writes scenes between characters and... Oh my god, I can't. This VN is so good, dude. How did this VN go from, like, an 8 out of 10 to a 10 out of 10 in, like, 3 episodes? Like, seriously? To anybody playing this game, if you want to drop it, get to chapter 5. I mean, honestly, this game is worth playing from the very beginning with just its production value alone. But seriously, gotta stick with it until you get to chapter 5. Because I really think that... Wow.
いいわよ。最後まで粘ってみる。それにしずきくんが付き合ってくれるなら、何かの役には立つでしょ。
This shit is based. We're in Zero Escape now. Seek a way out. Though her tone had lightened, there was still hesitation in her eyes. It was only natural. Aoko had not even a clue as how to begin to fight the Snark. For some reason, every time they bring up the Snark, it keeps reminding me of this one South Park episode where they had to fight the Snook? The Snooch? The Snook. There, yeah. The Snook. Oh my god, that episode sucked, by the way. In my opinion, that is one of the worst episodes of the series. If you haven't heard of it, I don't recommend watching it. But looking into it, you'll realize how fucking weird and disgusting that episode was. If only she had been just a bit more skilled, or had trained just a bit more, there might have been some way to look for it.
我ながら情けない。 せめて正体を暴く手がかりでもあればいいんだけど。
Unconsciously, she let her apprehension show. Sniveling was pointless. She would just have to figure it out by herself, but...
なんだ正体さえ分かればいいのか
He's like, I mean, I figured it out. Aoko gave him a look as if to ask what that was supposed to mean.
いやだからおかしなものはどれかってことだろ
I found it! Sojiro also made a face that suggested she would have brought it up sooner.
わかるのあんた。
多分いや結構前から気になっていたんだけ
That's
ど
why Shizuki's based. Sojiro whispered in her ear quietly so as not to be overheard. It was certainly unexpected, but then again, equally obvious. After he explained the mistake, she knew right away that he was correct. At least she had an inkling of White Snark's original form, namely... It's the pumpkin carriage, pumpkin carriage, pumpkin carriage! They strategized for 10 minutes. After deliberating the Snark's true form and figuring out a plan of attack, the two exchanged nods and accepted to their roles.
それじゃあここからは別行動。
Operation Bait and Switch. I'm the bait, you're the switch. Wait.
でもミラーハウスの時みたいに勘弁してよ。この作戦の肝はあなたなんだから。開始1分でドジったら本当に打つ手なしだからね。
Aww, cute. Though she jabbed him for his previous failures of decoy, her voice was bright. Ako's original vigor had returned to her as Sojiro's discovered the truth. Meanwhile, Sojiro was also getting serious, in his own way. He took Aoko's warning to heart.
ならいいけど。いい？さっきと立場は反対よ。
That's cool.
失敗したら死ぬのは私じゃなくてそっち。もうフォローに回れないから、できるだけ慎重にね。
Gotcha.
分かってる今更ながらやっぱりさっき逃がしてもらえばよかったと思うぐらい慎重だ
Time to get the Snark. Sojiro nodded, telling her to leave it to him. Though he made it sound like he was holding a grudge. It seemed to him to be the only way of showing her his resolve. Aoko let out a sigh of defeat. Once more, she couldn't figure him out.
ほんと、大バカなんだか大物なんだか。
It's a bit of both.
でも任せた。期待してるわ、しずきくん。
She had wanted to say that she believed in him, but apparently that was too embarrassing for her. Aoko turned away from Sojiro and began to run. She had begun to think that maybe this change of pace was not so bad after all. And so ended the intermission. The young cast members were handed their new lines. Whatever happened next, the Night of Witch's Head at long last entered its climax. Just like, what the fuck? He was filled with foreboding at the Robin's report. Apparently they had gone in opposite directions. The park's residents had set off after the boy witness, and it would take them mere minutes to capture him, so the bird said.
どういうこと？追いかけているのは本当に彼？
The robin tapped its wings, chirping away any doubt. It had seen them with its own two eyes. Aoko was heading for the plaza, while the cocky brat was making a run for the roller coaster.
青子が彼を見捨てた？そんな簡単なことならいいけど。
Oh.
ダンプティは彼に張り付いているの？
Robin nodded enthusiastically. Didn't know about the other birds, but with its superior night vision, it had seen that sucker clearly because he had moved it to a higher point.
ダンプティはなんて？最後まで歌わせろ。こんな褒め殺したい間抜けはまたとない。
Damn, it's
ですっ
rude.
て。
Scratch Dumpty was a ticking time bomb that would drop and detonate the moment its target averted its gaze. That is, as long as his targets continued to observe him in a way. He was a gentlemanly Polly Crickshaw, although Alice wished he would forgo such niceties when in battle.
そうね。視線を切らないだけではダンプティからは逃げられない。表面の死が完成すれば扉が開く。彼がどこまで逃げようと、あと少しでダンプティがしまってくれるわ。
There's a lot of faith he got on that dump truck. So the park, or rather the Snark, was destroyed, Sojiro would not be able to escape, which meant the larger concern was Aoko. Aoko had promised to protect the boy, which made the question, where was she running to?
ここにいる限り、青子の動向はつかめない。
Alice looked out over the park, ignoring the robin's attempt to get her attention with its plumage. Flat Snark had nearly reached his full size. It was a different breed of beast compared to the other cheap ploys. To her, it was one of her 3 most irreplaceable and precious familiars.
そうね。任せたわ、スナーク。青子が諦めない以上、あなたも手は抜かないで。
Alice remained where she was, with the same historical merit as the troll under the bridge and the poison-clawed reptile. Flap Snark was one of Alice's ultimate ploys. She was placing her trust in its reputation and ability.
でも忘れないで。これはゲームよ。勝敗がついたのなら、私のところに帰ってきて。
The drifting fog ignored its master's words. It was the one thinking that Alice had misread. White Snark was a king, even among the other ploys of terrible vulgar antics. Death to the defeated, gruesome tragedy to the vanquished. No pleasure unless it brought about dramatic ruination of life and wealth. The fog billowed like wicked laughter. After all, only a king had the right to decide the fate of the vanquished, and the Snark's greed could not be contained. Thus, it hadn't even the slightest intent to play fair, despite its master's orders. Oh god, that... Is it actually the roller coaster? Because that felt too, like, easy of an answer. Over 100 feet high, one careful step at a time, the figure made its way gingerly up the track, which stretched into the heart of the amusement park. He stayed his beating chest and the pounding of his breath. Even tiny movements were an obstacle to his progress. Dude, that is so scary. The balls it would take to go up there. Amazingly, the one making his pale face advance higher and higher was Sojiro Shizuki. Far below, he saw that a horde of bread creatures had congregated by the roller coaster platform. As they bustled this way and that, their numbers continued to increase by the minute, seemingly cheering on Sojiro with raised arms as he made his ascent. Or rather, they jeered as if beckoning him to come down.
あれ、高いところは苦手なんだ。
Of course, neither did Sojiro, but his current state was the lesser of 2 evils. The only thing that followed him now was the floating egg. After heaving a huge sigh, Sojiro bent forward a bit and climbed the track toward the heavens. "150 feet now. If this were a skyscraper, he would be on the 16th floor." Oh, you're starting to feel the wind? That's bad. You're at the point where if you fall, that's like splat. A strong gust of wind whipped through his hair. Humans had an instinctual fear of heights. In particular, a place like this, which called forth visions of falling to one's death, would cause a person's knees to tremble against their will. It was an instinct that forewarned death, using its master to return to the safety of ground. It was a reasonable reaction. Climbing the roller coaster tracks went beyond funny stories and into the realm of fantasy. Strong winds and change in air pressure were a hindrance. His instincts screamed at him to stop, causing his limbs to go numb, his muscles to go limp, and his mind to race. Even if he had been tied to a lifeline, a mere 15 feet of climbing would still have caused his thoughts to freeze out of sheer terror. It would only get worse from here, exponentially so. Every foot forward increases the load on both his mind and his body by another degree.
よし、頂上まであと少し。
Seriously, I couldn't do this. This is incredible. The burden on his mind, notwithstanding, he carefully measured the toll on his body every step. His legs, which had carried him running this far, threatened to buckle the moment that he lighted down his guard. This fatigue was likely why Aoko had stressed that Sojiro's role was more dangerous than hers.
待てよ。逆を言うと、疲れてなければなんとかなると思ってたんだよな。
Sojiro laughed as he stared at the floating egg. He reflected on the course of events that had led to this absurd situation. Not even 10 minutes ago, they had been engaged in conversation.
じゃあ次ね。正体が分かった以上、あとはどう壊すかを話し合いましょう。
Sojiro felt a shudder travel down his spine as Aoko's smug grin. In hindsight, Aoko had been more than happy at this point to make him do something absurd.
どう壊すかって、それなら
Sojiro wondered aloud. From what he'd seen, Aoko had enough firepower to tear clean through the fence. He refrained from speculating about Flat Snark's true form because he felt there was nothing they could do about it, even if they knew. But that had changed. For Aoko, the impossible was quite literally within her grasp.
そうでもないわ。私の目算だと、あと50メートル分、ギリギリで届かない。
Despair filled Sojiro's eyes. Aoko lifted a hand to her long hair and with a magically charged fingertip clipped a clean tuft of it.
足りない分は努力と根性ってね。あなたはできるだけ高いところまで逃げて。頃合いを見て合図を出すから。そうしたらこれを空に放ってくれる？
Based on where Aoko pointed her gaze, she did not really mean to leave it up to Sojiro to pick the highest place he could find. He was staring conspicuously at one of the amusement park's two main attractions, the roller coaster.
つまり青崎とは別行動をとってあの怪物たちに追われながら高いところに逃げ込めと。
そういう
That
こと。
grin.
ほら、あのうねうね動き出してるコースターのレールとかよくない？
There were two demons in this park. Her smile made even Sojiro want to respond that it was far from perfect.
疑いたくはないんだが本当はあの子とグルで俺を遠回しに殺そうとしてるんじゃないか。
あら、私に殺されるのならいいんでしょ？
Oof.
人の出現を悪用するのは良くないと思う。
Damn. Savage. Sojiro hung his head. This was not sane. If he did as she said, he would die from exhaustion before kids even had a chance to eat him.
私だって鬼じゃないわ。ほら、こっち向いて。おまじないかけてあげる。
Hmm? It was the lightest of touches, close enough for their breath and skin to come in contact. Oh my god, that's so fucking cute. He finished with a hushed voice. For one of them, this was a rather mundane magecraft. For the other, it was a head-spinning, intimate ambush.
軽く、弱く、うまく、早く。チクタクチクタク、急げや急げ。
Words that could not be produced by a normal larynx, carrying a peculiar weight to them, reverberated against his eardrums. If words were given colors, these would have been the color of her name, blue. Owl. Because Aoi means blue. Or is it just owl? Can't remember. Sojiro's exhausted body and burning blood gently cooled.
飛ぶ、泳ぐ、駆け抜ける。チクタクチクタク、汽笛を鳴らせ。星はいつでも北の空。どこまでも、いつ。
In reality, it took but a few seconds, but the sudden contact had felt a little longer.
よし、暗示成功。成功したはず。
Wow.
ここまで手応えがあったの初めてだし。
This is so adorable.
アリスの小言もたまには役に立つじゃない。
She learned. A very merry Aoko set aside a very confused Sojiro. After he asked what the heck had occurred, she responded,
簡単な暗示よ。一時的に恐怖心を消しておいたから、高いところに登
It's
って
an
も平気なはず。
elementary suggestion.
あの手の作業で一番足を引っ張るのは同様でしょ？
God, that'd be so useful to have.
恐怖も何も感じなければ、地上何メートルだろうと、平均台とそう変わらないってわけ。
Kaiji flashbacks. He's more so dying from the fact that you were so close to him. He seemed to get it. It all actually sounded like Greek to Sojiro, but he accepted it as an explanation for his strange actions. Oh, that's a shot. That's so pretty.
やっと着いた。
He'd arrived at the summit of the track. From nearly 200 feet high, Sojo had a bird's eye view of the entire amusement park. He was able to spot Aoko's figure right away. In the plaza, not so far from here, she seemed to be occupied with something conspicuous. Her surroundings lay still. The bread men were still busy trying to figure out how to reach Sojuro by trial and error from the roller coaster's entrance. They were over 300 feet away now.
汗をかくはずだ。こんなに移動したのか。
Strong winter gales quickly dried the sweat on his brow, but he was drenched underneath his shirt. This much sweat was worth at least a half-mile run, not to mention all the scares he had experienced throughout the night.
でもよかった。あとは合図を待つだけだ。
He felt a wave of relief, but not at the thought of Aoko destroying the Snark and this nightmarish park. He was simply happy that he could repay a bit of his debt from the House of Mirrors. Aww. There's the signal. Blue bullet rose from the plaza where Aoko was located.
合図だ。
Sojuro stood up atop the tracks, pulled out the pouch he had stowed in his pocket, and tossed it forward. Without any regard for his questionable footing, oh man, he gave it a mighty overarm pitch. The small pouch drew a parabolic curve in Aoko's direction, quickly becoming untied in midair. Inside the bag was the lock of hair and small stone weight.
高いところから風に乗せてくれれば、あとは何とかするから。
Aoko had said, but it was Sojo's effort that had set the plan in motion. The tuft of hair remained airborne, drifting as if watching over its owner. Sojo's job was done. He remained concerned about the egg hovering over him, but there was nothing he could do about it. Sojuro breathed a sigh of relief and leaned forward to watch the rest of the plan unfold, but then...
Mumu?
In the corner of his eye, he thought he spotted something familiar approaching Aoko. Okay, now we switch to Aoko's perspective. God damn it. What is going on?
ルートセット。ディレクト1層2層予備に3層魔力提供体現に固定循環よし射角よし術式安定大まかよし
A pattern began to carve itself into the brick street, casting of an unprecedented incantation with unprecedented range. Keeping the res intention contained within her chest, the fledgling mage snapped her fingers.
決めたツアープランスターマイン
She kneeled at the center of the formulae and raised her head to the night sky. Not even a glimpse of the transmogrified fantasy land around her entered her vision now. Only one thing, one untouchable thing was reflected in her blue eyes.
実はずっと気になっていたことが。
This is how their conversation started a few minutes prior. Sojuro began with a simple statement of fact. True, that really was the simplest of discrepancies. Any difference between the reality of an hour ago and the illusion of the present was both infinitesimal and infinite.
雲があったから勘違いしたんだろうけど。
It was hiding in plain sight. Too impossible to be real, too outlandish to be here. In this amusement park where every paradigm had shifted, something was brazenly flaunting its normalcy. The
今夜は
moon?
新月なんだ、青崎。
No fucking way. The moon!
思えば初めっからその形だったものねあんたは
That's so ingenious. I love it. That's so clever. The distance from the Earth to the moon was 238,900 miles. If it truly was identical to the actual moon, then this monster indeed lived up to its eerie reputation. Are you kidding me? You're gonna have to shoot a fucking bullet 238,900 miles? At a distance that vast, there would have been no need to hide. It could flaunt its true form for all to see. But if it had to hide its true form, that meant it was vulnerable. The monster's camouflage implied that it sat within the reach of human hands.
こっちの最大射程はよくて600ってところだけど
Yeah. At this point, it was time to give it all she had. Drawing on the energy searching through the park, she exerted her firing arm. Blue firework launched into the air. There's the signal. Looking up at her hair dancing in the wind above, Aoko reached out her right hand as if to catch the night sky. A mage's own body made for the perfect catalyst. And for a female mage, the hair she had grown out over many years made for a particularly valuable and powerful source of fuel. To use it, all she had to do was apply her will. She locked the fingers on both her hands together and shouted.
三層展開全術式連結起動
Dope. Yes! Third layer! Oh my god. We're blowing up the moon! We're going full Dragon Ball! She hurled forth a clear challenge to bind the moon to herself. Oh yeah! We're stealing them all! The mist began to whirl about in a vortex. The monster high above bore its fangs to the side of the blue spell that appeared in midair.
見抜かれた
By the time Alice had noticed a change, the hostility between Aoko and the Snark was palpable.
そうなら青子の勝ちよ
Oh!
すぐに戻りなさ
Yeah, because she doesn't want her Snark to get destroyed. It's valuable to her.
い確かに雨雲を消したのはヒントの上げすぎだけどそれぐらいは多めに見てスナーク
Yeah, but Snark wasn't gonna play by her rules. That's what. Oh, right. So it's not gonna return willingly. The fog continued to thicken with no sign of abating. The moon that floated in the night sky could not pardon such an insolent mage. As if the Lord of the Night would bow down to such impudence, there was no staying its wrath at a challenge so flagrant.
スナーク
Damn, Alice is gonna lose one of her 3 familiars tonight. Robin swooped in to give its report, but Alice waved it away. Her gaze was fixed on the transforming golden moon. With all this energy, I think she can do it. Her calls of restraint did not reach it. This fairy tale monster was beholden to nobody, and it would have no qualms unleashing its vast might upon its puny prey. More of her magic bullet howled. The magic circuits within her body spun. Aoko fed them magical energy, scorching her nerves with imaginary flame. She was linked to the formulae inscribed on the ground. The spell was read and executed the same as it always was, but its output was beyond reckoning. With this much firepower, even this mundane process would invite injury upon its caster. It was enough to burn up the nerves that were acting as the barrel. Oh my god, this is a freaking Shiro moment.
でもいける
Damn right, Aoko, you could do this! The imaginary heat had reached a terrifying temperature. Aoko trembled at this endless feeling, but would have to grin and bear it, test lest their efforts come to naught. Aoko could no longer move. When she had learned the Snark's true form from Sojiro, she gave up on any superiority a movable turret offered, instead opting to become a stationary cannon. That was the only way she could reach it. It was impossible to hunt the Snark unless she anchored her crest at this location and angle. At the same time, this action revealed that she was out of options. Once the fuse was lit, she would have no choice but to fight to the bitter end. Aoko took a deep breath. This is the way she wanted it. Her preparations were complete. She would be able to deliver this maelstrom of magical energy direct to the moon, like a rocket payload. Third mid-air layer served as the cannon's muzzle and sight. It would fire the magical energy once it reached criticality, and allowed Aoko to adjust the angle of fire.
きれ
The moon became warped within her scope. Uh-oh. It's throwing off her aim. As Aoko charged her magical energy, the Floyd displayed its golden form as if to mock her. Come, worship the heavens, powerless scion of an innocent bloodline. For there was a point among the otherworldly sky, a mystical visage, obfuscated by jade, midst an azure clouds, called the greatest treasure known to the world of magecraft, a rarity more valuable than an entire kingdom, Crown Phantasm. Oh my god. Oh, it's like a skull.
フラットスナーク
Oh, that's so cool. Set apart from the first, the world's greatest fabrication. That is so dope. It's the eye of the skull.
早いまだ早いけど
Her instinct screamed at her to delay no further. This fairy tale monster was the greatest of its kind, and it was about to expose its true form. Its open hostility made it clear that it was ready to counterattack.
ちはもう動けない。逃げを捨てての大栄翔。先に撃たれたらそこで終わりだ。
She had to shoot it down first. Magical energy was at 80%. The formula was operating normally. All that was left was to pull a trigger, but the calm voice inside her head asked if that was really okay. She had one shot at this, and there was no going back. It was a battle of precision with no room for miscalculations. Even a tenth of a second of hesitation would tip the scales. Was she ready for the pain? Was she ready to deal with that fallout if she missed? Did she really even take down the moon with such a tiny bullet in the first place?
いい。とりあえず当たった後で考える。
Damn straight, like a true American. Her eyes fixed upon the moon were filled with determination. She knew that the moment she fired, the intense recoil would overwhelm her entire body. Still, she shouted.
上等。出し惜しみはなし。目いっぱいぶん回すわ。
Oh my god, yes! It's so cool. The Rianza spirit she possessed, she fired her ultra long range projectile into the sky. Oh, that's so cool. Third layer, embrace the magic bullet fired from the surface of the earth. Crest, an extension of Aoko's self, unleashed light to pierce the moon. However... What? It's a beam struggle! Charge! An enormous blue canopy pulverized the beam. It returned the ether. That 3,000 degree flame, nothing as it came... 3,000? As it came in contact with the bullet? Oh, she's burning out her magical circuit. Dude, this is literally a Shiro moment. Charge it! Beam struggle! Dragon Ball! The recoil of the Grand Mage-Craft literally boiled her blood. Oh. Her body couldn't handle it. Her heart stopped. Her brain went numb from the pain and impact. Her nerves putrefied from end to end. But her magic crest revived them all by force. Charge. Charge! Even though her vision had gone white, she could still see it. Swallowing the blood in her mouth, Aoko looked up with a scowl. Holy shit. There it was. An enormous shield device and a sneering, deformed skull.
撃つのが遅すぎた。それとも早すぎた。盾を作られる前に撃てばよかった。それとも正面からじゃ無謀すぎた。
This shit is so peak.
どっちでもいい。一層、二層、再起動。急いで。
There was no time to think or hesitate. The magical energy throughout the park began to gather. Aoko knelt across from the tyrannical face of the moon. She intuited that the ice had yet to fully form. White Snark still hadn't reached its full strength, which was exactly why.
まずい、まずい、まずい、まずい。
By accelerating the spell, Aoko damaged her own body. The burden of leaking the formula to the snark caused intense pain. All she could do was grit her teeth and endure it. All because...
あの氷、私のマックスよりもっと上だ。
Aoko had gotten a read on the relative strengths. Even if its volume of magical energy was identical, Snark's form, its mystic scale was in a different league. Aoko could charge her energy to her absolute limit, and that would barely make a dent in the ice wall. Meanwhile, there was nothing she could do to prevent her own annihilation if the Snark gathered as much energy as it could.
ならその前に。
She loaded her next shot. She issued orders to the floating third layer. Ignoring the toll on her body, she began to accelerate the first layer formula. The role of her right-hand signal layer was to absorb and store surrounding magical energy. The thick fog that drifted through the park was an ancient ether spewed out by White Snark's own body, and Aoko could pour it into her formula. Aoko's body, which had integrated with the formula, took on an amount of magical energy that far surpassed its maximum capacity. It seethed in agony. Or rather, it trembled in delight. For a mage, magical energy was a propellant to reach the realm of mystics, the expansion of internal time, the liquefaction of the self, the release from the physical. They were all what one might call a near-death experience. On the precipice of what lay beyond, Aoko stood firm and faced reality. Dude. This is actually... Oh my god. Still, reality had come to break her will. The gap between them was plain to any observer. The gun barrel named Aoko had not a chance to chip away the lump of ice. Unleash your inner Palpatine! Shoot lightning! She accelerated the spell further. The skull grinned. That ice was no shield, it was a hammer to crush mages who did not know their place. The moon laughed as it prepared to crush not just Aoko, but the boy atop the roller coaster as well as the park in its entirety. So what if it hurts? Oh my god, Aoko's so cool. Her circuits, when they're on the verge of going critical, her body had been charged with a scorching power supply from her fingertip tips to her eyeballs. She would see the bullet fired. She would arrange the mage trap formulas as quickly as her nerve's transmission speed would allow. A single attack was not enough. There was no way to shoot it from its flank, which meant there was only one solution: machine gun. The third layer began to transform. It switched from direct to alternating current. The spell's supposed strong point was its ability to adjust its trajectory mid-flight, but right now all she wanted was numbers. 8 shots? Oh my god. What? Oh my god, yeah, the 8 shot, it's like all spreading. A blue sun shined down upon the amusement park. Beams of light at maximum output streaked for the fourth to pierce the golden moon. If it could just go through, if it could just pierce, like, just little... Holding down the trigger, she continued to fire, taking an energy at infinitum. This is like one of the best beam struggles I've seen in quite some time. Blue flame shot for the critical level, but the ice would neither melt nor mar. No amount of sheer heat could make a dent in something formed from such a colossal amount of magical energy. The toll on her circuit sent them berserk, and blood began to run free. What's it gonna take? How is this not enough? The battle had become a tussle over the magical energy that filled the park. At the very beginning, this had been Snark's home turf. Snark had control over at least 80% of the space, while Aoko had 20 at best. Come on, Sojro Ex Machina, please! No way. The castle of ice descended as if to call the match. All she could do was delay the inevitable. She knew that she had been backed into a wall, and right now, the only thing she could do was to keep firing. Then again, perhaps not. There was another option. She converted all of her magical energy into a defense. There was a tiny chance, no, not tiny, great possibility in fact that she could save just her. Clinging to that broken hope, Aoko continued to rotate her circuits. Time seemed to stop at the magical energy overdose. A second of intense pain lasted an eternity, and amidst everything... What the fuck is that? Something approached one step at a time. Something from among the park's shadows. Something... She felt goosebumps from head to toe. The issue was no longer the ice overhead. In the midst of the stillness, the Red Death drew closer, step by ominous step.
なんでこんなところで
Wait, what? What do you mean, wait, what? Her circuits in her mind began to rupture out of terror. The composition of her formula and soul began to rip apart. There it was, just behind her. Its footsteps came to a halt. It reached around and cupped her face in its blood-stained hands. What the fuck is that? Okay, hello. She wanted to scream out with all her might. This is it. Nothing matters. I couldn't care less. Run or don't run, it doesn't matter. Quit hiding and reveal yourself. Use whatever you can and show no mercy. That was it. She had one final card to play. Once a miracle had been gifted to her, almost as a joke. It made the ice look like child's play. Is this like something her grandfather gave her, or something like... What? Like, is it... Like, I have a bad feeling about this. I don't know. That was what the Red Death had come to kill. Using it would spell ruin. Not using it would mean death by ice. Then, oh my... What the fuck? Is this literally just a Heaven's Feel moment where I'm just unveiling the shroud? What, like, there were no conditions on its use. There was no price to pay for its power. She simply would cease... You're fucking me. You're genuinely fucking me right now, right? Now, so stop bending me over and pegging me against my will. It's really getting old. That was all. Humans love to exist in areas of gray. Dozens of electrical impulses disconnect in the brain every minute. Nothing lasts forever, not even oneself. It was not anything particularly worthy of disdain. It was not even anything remarkably worthy of being called taboo. What escaped her lips now was rage, bewilderment from the red silhouette. The girl let out an inaudible scream. Could true magic truly be her savior? What an opportunistic load of bullshit. True magic? Wasn't one of the true magic the thing in Heaven's Feel that Ilya achieved? Or am I going crazy? Also, the music is going fucking nuts. After all, to begin with. What the hell's going on? I feel like I'm... I feel like I'm going on an acid trip right now. Indeed, Aoko was still in the dark when it came to that magic, whatever it was. Oh my god. But what if she accepts it later? She'll cease to be herself? Oh no, that doesn't bode well at all. She woke from a momentary hallucination. The very illusion her breaking soul had shown her blinding had the opposite effect on her. Her pride was now ablaze.
逃げるのか?
Sojiro was right. Her opponent had put her in check, but she had done the same to it. It was clear what she was losing, so now all she had needed was a counterplan well within her abilities. No matter what the odds, she was not one to give up without giving it one last shot. Damn straight, Aoko, let's do this. Her numbed fingers clenched into a tight fist. She was betting against the house, an unreasonable gamble that should have made her question her sanity. If her first step was off by an inch, her body would be instantly vaporized. But she knew a boy who never fled. Aw, he inspired her. She knew of a steadfast courage that could shine its light, no matter how small, through any desperate situation. Yes, there's more than just herself to be concerned about. If that ice fell, would mean the destruction of the park in its entirety. Yep, and the death of everything he had achieved, everything he had risked and dared and happily put his life on the line for would all be for naught.
本当それじゃあ何のために意地を張ったかわからない
You. Determination and confidence surged through her like electricity. She was in no mood to be crushed by a giant sheet of ice. If she was gonna lose, she'd rather do so with the grandest firework possible. Aoko was a sore loser. At this point, she'd rather burn herself to cinders than let it decide her end. Trace on.
チェンジ
Oh, baby. She grunted in pain. Energy raged through her body. Her circuits were on the verge of disintegration. Inscribed upon her body, her magic crest was magecraft given physical form. It did not, however, stop with simply skin and flesh. It burrowed to the very marrow of her bones? Any idea how much more respect I have for Aoko as a character to actually go through this? Rin could never. A playful smile graced her lips. Her sense of reason had been turned upside down by the pain. It was only natural. Not saying that Rin didn't do anything cool, I'm just saying that... I'm sorry, the Rin slanders too much.
なんだやればできるじゃない私
She had to praise her own body for holding out for so long while pushed beyond its limits. The skull face noticed the abnormality. It's like, what the Sigma? It finally recognized the challenge for dominance over the space. It laughed at the conceited face. Never did it expect a magician to challenge the great White Snark, lord of vessels over a millennium, and in such an age of decline. She tried to catch her breath. She braced herself for the coming pain. She was going to smash that ice to pieces. Both had access to the same amount of magical energy. One of them was greatly unmatched, though.
出力装置に差があった魔力の吸引方針の規模で負けているのなら単純な話私をでかくするだけでいい
Expandus thickest.
チェンジツアープラン
Yes! Biggest chungus! Oh yeah, that is getting thick. The feedback would go beyond anything she'd experienced to date. Quite simply, her decision went beyond recklessness. She expanded both formulae to maximum size. The first layer would transform into a giant vortex, swelling up the mist. The second layer would process it from one end and pump it into the barrel.
私の想定が甘かった撃ち落とすなんて半端もいいとこ
Yeah, it was unfortunate, but it was very naive.
この場合跡形もなく打ち砕く
Send it to the Shadow Realm. Primeval power answered the spellcaster's conviction and formed the pattern of a writhing serpent. Voiceless magical power flew the pattern of revolution. Now look upon the earth, O vulnerable one. See now this pioneer, this first among trailblazers. She embodies a species that knows no fear, that renders not all manner of mystic and tradition.
確かにはここまでよ嘘つきブージャム
Yeah, you fucking boojum.
お望み通りのしをつけて返してあげる
He just called you a bum. The newest magician commands the principles of consumption and extinction. Special beacon! Oh, that is so satisfying. I can't. My balls just dropped so much. The barrel of light melted into the castle of ice. The barrel held fast. The control of magical energy is divine. 100,000 miles of veins equal to 2.5 times the circumference of the... Oh, okay. The earth hungrily drank in the magical energy. The subsequent magical strike hurled straight up at the moon. Yeah, fuck you, Snark. He's like, no. Death rose on the moon's surface. Writhing I can't even read anymore. Indignant terror echoed through the abandoned park. Reality was burned into the eyes of this creature of fantasy. To Aoko, its vain struggles was a taste of victory. Victory, despite her absolute reckless use of magic energy. The energy scales have been tipped to their breaking point, but nevertheless in her favor.
ツアープランブラックライトスターボ一気にぶち
Rip
抜
open
け
its ass! Shatter, 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 shatter. The skyscape scraper scattered into atomized dust. The island, its unattainability, extolled, had swallowed a whole the despair of its many challengers. Long had it proudly eluded mankind's intellect. Goodbye, Snark. Yet now, azure mist bemoaned its demise. In the sky, the icy canopy crumbled. A snark-hunting bullet jumped over the moon, and throes of death sounded like the roaring sea reverberating across this fairy tale land. Sa Endo. The battle was over. That was peak. That was so fucking cool.